The air in my apartment always gets too still this time of year, a heavy quiet that settles in the dust motes dancing in the late afternoon sun. It's the silence of a life grown smaller, the echoes of a family that once was. I was just about to water the geraniums on my fire escape, their stubborn ready defiance against the gray of the city, when my phone buzzed. It was a video call from Chloe, my daughter-in-law. A little thrill, warm and familiar, went through me. Those calls were the highlights of my week, a direct line to the happiness my son had found. Annie. She chirped, her face filling the screen, bright and impossibly young. She never called me Mom. It was always Annie, a name she said suited my youthful spirit. I never corrected her. Behind her, I could see the blur of their modern, open-plan kitchen, all stainless steel and minimalist lines, a world away from my own cozy, cluttered space. We have some news. My heart did a little flip. A grandchild? Was it too soon to hope? News. Don't keep me in suspense, sweetheart, she grinned. A brilliant, practiced flash of white. We got married. The words hit me like a physical blow, so hard I had to grip the edge of the windowsill. The world tilted, the cheerful red of the geraniums suddenly garish. Married? I managed to whisper, my voice thin with paper. But when? Where? Liam. Liam didn't say a word. Liam. My son. My only child. The boy I raised on waitress tips and library books, the man who carried his father's quiet strength in his eyes. He had met Chloe 2 years ago, a whirlwind of designer clothes and dazzling confidence that seemed to sweep my cautious son right off his feet. I'd welcomed her, of course. What mother wouldn't want her son to have such vibrant, ambitious love? Chloe's smile didn't falter, but it changed, curving into something secretive, almost smug. Yesterday. It was just a tiny, intimate thing at the courthouse. So spontaneous. We decided it was perfect, just for us. She leaned closer to the screen, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Just for special people, you know? The phrase landed like a shard of ice in my chest. Just for special people. It hung in the air, the unspoken end of the sentence screaming in the silence. And you, Annie, were not special enough. Oh, was all I could say. The word was a small, broken thing. I see. Congratulations. Thanks, Annie. Gotta run, we're off to the Bahamas. Love you. And the screen went dark. I stood there for a long time, the phone growing heavy in my hand. The stillness of the apartment was no longer peaceful, it was accusatory. Yesterday, while I was probably here, reheating meatloaf and watching some forgettable show, worrying if he was eating enough, my son was pledging his life to another woman. And he hadn't wanted me there. The pain was a clean, sharp cut, but it was what seeped into the wound afterward that truly began to fester, the cold, slow dawning realization. This wasn't like Liam, my Liam, who called me every Sunday without fail, who sought my opinion on everything from his career moves to the best brand of coffee. This secrecy, this casual cruelty. This had Chloe's fingerprints all over it. A week passed. 7 days of a silence from them that felt louder than any noise. I left 2 voicemails for Liam, my voice carefully cheerful, asking about the honeymoon, hoping to hear his voice. He didn't call back. The narrative was already writing itself in my mind, a dark, emotional thriller replacing the family drama I thought I was living. My son, my gentle boy, was either complicit in this exclusion or he was trapped in the gilded cage of his new wife's world. Either way, the result was the same. I was on the outside. Then, the second call came. This time, her voice was stripped of its sugary warmth, replaced by a sharp, metallic urgency. Annie. The rent is overdue for the new loft. Did you transfer it? I froze, the dishcloth in my hand dripping onto the linoleum. Transfer it? I repeated, my mind racing. The loft. The one they'd moved into 6 months ago. A breathtaking space in a converted factory with Hudson River views. Liam had been so proud, talking about how it was an investment in their future. He had never mentioned me paying their rent. The idea was absurd. Yes, transfer it, Chloe snapped, impatience fraying her words. Liam said you were handling it this month. We're about to get hit with a massive late fee. I need you to sell it right now. And in that moment, looking out at the familiar, grimy brick wall of the building opposite mine, something in me shifted. The hurt, the confusion, the lonely heartbreak, it all crystallized into a cold, hard point of clarity. This was no longer just about being left out of a wedding. This was a campaign. A soft, insidious erosion of my place in my son's life, and now, it seemed, my finances. Just for special people. The words echoed, now taking on a new, sinister meaning. Special people didn't pay the bills. They were the beneficiaries. A calmness settled over me, a stillness I hadn't felt since before that first call. I saw the board, the pieces, the moves she was making. And I decided to make one of my own. I brought the phone back to my ear, my voice a perfect mirror of her earlier, casual tone. "Didn't I tell you?" I said, the words light, almost airy. There was a beat of stunned silence on the other end. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head. "Tell me what?" she said, her voice dangerously low. "I'll have to call you back, Chloe," I said, my tone still pleasant. "There's someone at the door." And I ended the call. I stood in the center of my living room, my heart hammering against my ribs, not with panic, but with a fierce, newfound purpose. The revenge wasn't going to be loud or messy. It wasn't about confrontation. It was about unraveling. It was about pulling one single, crucial thread and watching the entire beautiful, deceitful tapestry she had woven around my son come apart in her hands. My first move was reconnaissance. I needed information. I logged into my computer, my fingers flying across the keyboard with a focus I hadn't possessed in years. I found their buildings management company website. A few clicks, and I was on the tenant portal login page. Liam was a creature of habit, and his passwords were always variations of the same theme. I tried a few: our old dog's name, his childhood street, the college he attended. Nothing. Then I remembered the book he'd been obsessed with in high school, a thick fantasy novel about a lone knight. I typed in Kalen_125, the name of the knight and our old apartment number. The screen blinked, and then I was in. My eyes scanned the dashboard. Account summary. Payment history. There it was. The rent, a figure that made my breath catch. It was paid, automatically, from a joint checking account ending in 8891. And it wasn't overdue, it was paid in full, 3 days ago. The lie was right there, in black and white. So, she wasn't just cutting me out emotionally, she was testing the waters for financial manipulation. A trial balloon to see if I would just blindly comply. The audacity of it, the sheer, lazy greed, took my breath away. I needed to understand the enemy. I dove into the deep, dark waters of social media. Chloe's profiles were a curated museum of her life, artfully filtered photos of brunches, designer shopping bags, hash-blessed captions under pictures of the loft, but I wasn't looking at the pictures. I was looking at the comments, the tags, the digital footprints. I found her mother, Brenda, a woman with the same hard eyes and tight smile, her profile a shrine to nouveau riche aspirations. I found her brother, a slick-looking young man named Jason whose posts were all about crypto grinding and disrupting the system, and then I found it. A comment from Jason on the photo of Chloe and Liam, taken just a week before their spontaneous courthouse wedding. "Can't wait for the big day. Gonna be legendary. My sister the bride power couple, legendary." Not a word one used for a sudden courthouse ceremony. The lie was deepening, becoming more elaborate. There had been a plan. A big plan. My exclusion wasn't a last-minute whim. It was a deliberate, premeditated act. I spent the next few days building a profile. I used public records searches, a skill I picked up from a true crime documentary binge. I found property records, business registrations. Chloe's father, Robert, owned a mid-sized construction firm. It looked successful on the surface, But a deeper dive into city permit databases and contractor review sites revealed a different story. A series of lawsuits, complaints about shoddy workmanship, a project halted by the city for code violations. The financial bedrock of the family my son had married into was not the solid granite it appeared to be, but something far more brittle. The pieces were starting to fit together, forming a picture that was both terrifying and clarifying. My son, with his stable, six-figure tech job, his good credit, his inherent trustworthiness, wasn't just a husband. He was a life raft. He was legitimacy. He was a fresh line of credit for a family that was potentially drowning. I couldn't go to Liam directly. Not yet. He would see it as an attack, the jealous mother unable to let go. Chloe would have a story ready. A reason for every discrepancy. She'd paint me as unstable, possessive, a woman creating drama because she was lonely. I would lose him forever. No, I had to be smarter. I had to make him see it for himself. My opportunity came a week later. Liam called. Finally. His voice was strained, the familiar warmth replaced by a weary formality. "Hi, Mom." "Liam," I said, pouring a lifetime of love and hurt into that one syllable. "It's so good to hear your voice." "Yeah, listen. About the wedding. Chloe said she told you." I'm sorry it was so sudden. It just felt right." "Did it?" I asked softly. "It didn't feel right to me, Liam. It felt like I'd done something wrong." He sighed, a heavy, burdened sound. "It's not like that, Mom. It was just us. You know how Chloe is. She likes things to be perfect, and a big wedding. It's just so much stress." "I understand stress," I said, carefully steering the conversation. "I was just worrying about you two the other day, with that expensive loft. I hope the rent situation got sorted out?" Chloe sounded so panicked. There was a long pause. I could hear the hum of their expensive refrigerator in the background. "Rent?" he said, his voice laced with genuine confusion. "What are you talking about?" "The rent is on auto pay. It's never late." "Bingo." "Oh," I said, layering on just the right amount of maternal concern. "She called me last week, said it was overdue and asked if I'd transferred the money. She said you told her I was handling it." I must have misunderstood her. I've been so scattered lately. I let my voice tremble just a little. "Ever since I found out I wasn't special enough for your wedding day." The silence on the other end was profound. I could almost see the first crack appearing in the perfect facade she had built for him. She asked you for money?" he said, his voice low and disbelieving. "It's fine, Liam," I said quickly, the picture of forgiving grace. "I'm sure it was just a miscommunication. Don't mention it to her, you'll only start a fight. I just want you both to be happy." I was laying my own traps now, baited with kindness and concern. I was showing him I was the reasonable one, the peacemaker, while subtly highlighting her duplicity. After we hung up, I knew the seed was planted. But it was just a seed. It needed water and light to grow. I needed to give it more. I remembered an old friend of Liam's from college, Mark. They'd been roommates, thick as thieves. Mark had always been a good kid, sharp and perceptive. I found his number and called him, my heart in my throat. "Mark? It's Annie, Liam's mom, Mrs. G. Hey, how are you?" He sounded genuinely pleased to hear from me. "I'm well, Mark, thank you. I'm actually calling because I'm trying to put together a little surprise for Liam and Chloe. A belated wedding gift. The lie came easily, wrapped in a mother's love. I know they had a small ceremony, but I was hoping to get some pictures from the day. I thought maybe some of their friends might have taken some. I know it's a long shot, but you didn't happen to be there, did you?" Mark's cheerful tone faded. No, Mrs. G. I wasn't. Actually, none of us were. We were all kind of surprised. Liam had told us about this huge blowout they were planning for the summer. Venue booked. Band hired, the whole 9 yards. Then, out of the blue, he sends a text saying they eloped. We all figured, well, We figured maybe you'd put your foot down about the cost or something. The world stopped. A huge blowout. Venue. Band. Planned for the summer. This was no spontaneous courthouse romance. This was a calculated switch. They had disinvited the entire world, his friends, his family, and replaced a public celebration with a secret ceremony. And they had, it seemed, used me as the scapegoat. The emotional thriller in my mind was now a full-blown conspiracy. And I was no longer just a victim, I was the detective, the prosecutor, and soon, I would be the judge. The next few weeks were a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. I became the most supportive, understanding mother-in-law imaginable. I sent them a lavish, expensive wedding gift. A crystal vase from Tiffany, with a card that read, "To my beautiful son and his bride. So happy you found a day that was just for you. All my love, Mom." I knew Chloe would read the subtext, the subtle emphasis on those damning words. I called Liam regularly, always when I knew he'd be alone, during his commute home. I never mentioned Chloe unless he did. I talked about his father, about the sacrifices we'd made, about how proud we were of the man he'd become. I was rebuilding our connection, brick by careful brick, reminding him of where he came from, of the love that was unconditional, not transactional. Meanwhile, I continued my digital sleuthing. I created a fake Facebook profile, a friendly, middle-aged woman named Susan, and sent a friend request to Brenda, Chloe's mother. She accepted. Her profile was a gold mine of barely concealed avarice. She posted memes about deserving the best, photos of herself draped over a new Mercedes, and constant, vague complaints about haters and people who don't want to see you succeed. Then, she posted a photo that made my blood run cold. It was a picture of Jason, Chloe's brother, standing in front of a sleek, new sports car. The caption, "So proud of my boy. Moving on up in the world. #blessed #hustle #Lamborghini." A Lamborghini. On a crypto grinder's salary? The dissonance was deafening. The money had to be coming from somewhere. And the timeline coincided almost exactly with Liam's and Chloe's marriage. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place during one of my calls with Liam. He sounded tired, defeated. The initial spark of doubt I'd planted about the rent had clearly taken root. "Mom," he said, his voice heavy. "Did Dad? Did he ever feel like he was just a means to an end? Like people only saw his paycheck?" My heart ached for him, even as it soared with a grim sense of vindication. "Your father was the most genuine man I ever knew," I said carefully. "He believed in building a life, not just a lifestyle. He always said that when you confuse the two, you end up with a house full of expensive things and an empty heart." "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" He was quiet for a long moment. "It's nothing," he mumbled. "Just Chloe's family. They're always talking about investments, about leveraging assets. Sometimes I feel like I'm just another one of their projects." The dam was breaking. I could hear it in his voice. The cognitive dissonance between the life he thought he was building and the reality he was living was becoming too great to ignore. It was time for the finale. I needed to force the confrontation, to put Chloe in a position where her true nature would be undeniable, not just to me, but to Liam. I hatched my plan. I called Liam and told him I'd come into a little money, a small inheritance from a distant aunt I'd invented. I told him I wanted to use it to pay off a chunk of their mortgage, as a proper wedding gift. I said I needed to come by their loft with a bank cashier's check to get the exact account details from them. I knew the greed would be too powerful for Chloe to resist. She would see the final payday, the ultimate validation of her scam. The day of the meeting, I dressed carefully. I wore my best dress, a simple, elegant navy blue shift I'd saved for years to buy. I looked like what I was, a respectable, loving mother. I carried my late husband's old, worn leather briefcase. Inside was not a cashier's check, but a manila folder. When Liam opened the door to the loft, my breath caught. He looked older, shadows under his eyes. He hugged me tightly, a little too long. "Hey, Mom." The loft was as stunning as the photos, high ceilings, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing a panoramic view of the city. It was also sterile. There were no photos of us, of his childhood, of his father. It was a showroom, not a home. Chloe glided in from the kitchen. She was wearing a silk robe, as if she'd just gotten out of bed, though it was past noon. Her smile was brilliant, but her eyes were calculating. Annie. So good to see you. She air-kissed my cheeks. Liam told me your wonderful news. That is so incredibly generous of you. It's what family is for, I said, my smile matching hers in its falseness. We sat in the vast, white living room, perched on a minimalist sofa that was more art than furniture. I placed the briefcase on the glass coffee table between us. So, Chloe said, her eyes glued to the case. You have the check? Almost, I said calmly. I just need the exact bank routing and account number for your mortgage lender. I want to make sure it goes directly to the principal. Liam started to get up. I have the statements in the office. Sit down, Liam, I said, my voice quiet but firm. He looked at me, startled, and slowly sank back onto the couch. I clicked open the brass latches of the briefcase. The sound was unnaturally loud in the quiet room. I didn't pull out a check. I pulled out the manila folder. Before we talk about money, Chloe, I said, my voice dropping, becoming serious, I think we need to talk about a few other things first. Her smile tightened. What things? I opened the folder. Let's start with the rent. The rent that was supposedly overdue. I slid a printed screenshot of their tenant portal across the glass, the paid in full status circled in red. It was paid. On time. From your joint account? Liam leaned forward, his face pale as he looked at the paper. Mom? What is this? This is the truth, Liam, I said, my eyes never leaving Chloe. The truth your wife didn't want you to see. Chloe's face was a mask of cold fury. You had no right to access our private account? I had every right when she tried to defraud me, I said, my voice steady. I turned to the next page. Then there's the wedding. The spontaneous courthouse wedding. I slid another printout toward Liam. It was a screenshot of Jason's comment about the big day. Your friend Mark confirmed it. There was a big wedding planned for the summer. For everyone. What happened to it, Chloe? Why did you decide to have a secret ceremony instead? And why tell everyone that I was the reason it was cancelled? Liam was staring at Chloe, his expression a storm of confusion and dawning horror. Chloe? Is this true? You told your brother we were having a big wedding? She crossed her arms. It was a change of plans. You agreed it was more romantic. I agreed because you told me the stress of planning was making you sick. Liam's voice rose. You told me my mother thought it was a waste of money. You said she refused to come. The final, ugly truth was out. The manipulation was laid bare. And then there's this, I said, my voice cutting through their rising voices. I slid the final piece of evidence across the table. It was a photo of Jason with a Lamborghini, and next to it, a printout of a loan application I'd found in a public database, showing a massive personal loan taken out by Liam and Chloe just 2 weeks after their marriage. A loan for which, I was certain, my son's excellent credit had been the sole qualifying factor. This loan, I said, tapping the paper. $200,000. What was it for, Chloe? It didn't go into this loft. It didn't go into your joint account? Where did it go? Chloe was silent, her jaw clenched, her eyes blazing with a hatred so pure it was almost impressive. Liam picked up the loan document, his hands shaking. I signed this for your father's business, he whispered, looking at Chloe. You said it was a bridge loan. That the bank was being slow. You said it would be paid back in 60 days? He looked from the document to the photo of the sports car. The connection was inevitable, devastating. You used me, he said, the words barely audible. You used my credit to buy your brother a car. You isolated me from my mother, from my friends. Also you could get to my money. The room was utterly still. The grand revenge I had imagined wasn't a shouting match or a physical altercation. It was this, the silent, shattering collapse of a fantasy. It was the look on my son's face as the scales fell from his eyes, as he saw the woman he loved for the calculating, mercenary person she truly was. I stood up. My work was done. I had not given him the truth. I had forced the truth to reveal itself. The money from my aunt doesn't exist, Liam, I said softly. It was just the key to get me in the door. The real inheritance I'm leaving you is this. I gestured to the papers on the table. The truth. Your father and I didn't raise you to be anyone's ATM. We raised you to be a good man. Don't let them take that from you, too. I walked to the door, leaving them in the wreckage of their beautiful life. I didn't look back. As I rode the elevator down, I felt not triumph, but a profound, weary sadness. I had gotten my son back, but he was returning to me broken, his heart and his trust in pieces. The path to healing would be long, but he would heal. And I would be there, not as a victim, not as a bystander, but as the mother who fought for him in the only way she knew how, with patience, with cunning, and with a love that was, and always would